Okay, this is a true story. When I was 7 years, I lost 3 brothers. I went through a strong process going to a psychiatric hospital. After pandemic, I have a health problem. I totally reinvent myself. I cut my hair, cut my beard, I give away all my clothes. There is always a possibility to heal yourself.
How has your photography changed or been impacted by the journey that you went through and coming out the other side of it?
When I started to do photography, I realized that I want to do something that can be useful in the future, not just making money. Do you want to know how I knew I was a good photographer? It's not about the photo. It's about...
What is it about these subcultures and indigenous populations that sparks your curiosity?
That's a very good question, a very complex thing.
What is your purpose with photography?
My purpose...
Welcome to the Mood Podcast, uncovering the art of conversation, one frame at a time. I'm your host, Matt Jacob, and thank you for joining me in today's conversation. And joining us today is the extraordinary Sebastian Belaustegui, also known as Suki. He's a photographer whose work exemplifies the art of cultural storytelling. And for over 30 years, he's traveled through Latin America, Africa, and Asia, documenting indigenous communities and celebrating their traditions, rituals, and everyday lives. His book, Guardians of Time, and numerous other projects reflect a profound respect for the people and cultures he photographs, creating timeless images that really do transcend borders and generations. In our discussion, we explore Sebastian's journey into photography and his dedication to capturing humanity's diversity. We dive into his immersive process of connecting with indigenous communities, the challenges and responsibilities of photographing cultural traditions, and the intersection of art and anthropology in his work. We also touch on the importance of storytelling in a fast-paced world and the lessons Suki has learned about empathy, patience, and cultural preservation. Most importantly, I believe, though, we uncover the struggles he has had over the last 4 years with some serious mental health issues and how he eventually recovered, a lot of the journey of which has shaped who he is now as a photographer and as a person in this present day. It was a pleasure to see him back on his 2 feet, as it were, happy and healthy in the studio, and indeed it was such a fun conversation, so I hope you enjoy it too. Now, I bring you Sebastian Belaustegui. Sebastian Belaustegui, welcome to the Mood Podcast.
Thank you so much to invite me.
Great to finally have you here after, I think it's 4 years since we first spoke over Instagram Live back then. I think it was during COVID, or it was definitely within the COVID period. And now you're in Bali. Thanks so much for coming in.
Better situation. It was in the night. I have no internet almost.
And this was in Mexico, right? So I was in Hong Kong at the time and you were in Mexico.
Yes, that was back home in Mexico.
Tell us what's been happening since we last spoke in the last 4 years. What's brought you here today?
Well, I mean, it's a long story. After we spoke, it was when pandemic started. So, of course, my work absolutely was dead. As running workshops. Then after pandemic, I have a health problem after the vaccine. It's another long story. So I'm back on my life again in the last year, working hard again and do all these things that we do with passion. That is photography, documentary photography.
Hey, it's me. Sorry to break your podcast, but I wanted to just say a few words from the sponsor of this episode. And stick with me because it is worth a listen. My friends at Luminar Neo have an awesome editing software that I think every photographer should certainly have at their fingertips. I found this software not so long ago, actually, and if you're like me and always on the lookout for the perfect and most efficient photo editor that is easy to master and delivers great results, then you have to check them out. Luminar Neo is an innovative photo editing software designed for a fast and convenient workflow. Recognized with prestigious awards like TIPA and Red Dot Design, Luminar Neo offers an intuitive, user-friendly interface that makes it easy for anyone to enhance photos just like a pro. It's powered by AI. Yeah, stay with me and lean into it. So you can easily adjust light, colors, retouch portraits or enhance landscapes and just so much more with just a few clicks. From layers and masking to advanced local adjustments, it really is packed with powerful tools to bring your vision to life. And in my opinion, the user interface is so much quicker, user-friendly, and efficient than other softwares. And it also has a powerful built-in library of presets that can help you easily add a unique style to any of your photos. It's available for Windows, Mac OS, or as a plugin for Photoshop and Lightroom. And Luminar Neo is your go-to for quick, professional, quality results across all of your images. So go to the episode description, click on the link, and use the code for a whopping 25% discount and pick up your copy of Luminar Neo today. Trust me, it's definitely going to be worth it. All right, see you later. We're going to get onto all of your photography. There's so much to talk about, but just give us an insight. Tell us what actually happened. How did you end up in such a critical health crisis? And give us an insight.
You know, I've been a traveler since I am 17 years old, never stop. So when pandemic came, I will think that it was like a crisis, but not. It was a beautiful time. Being at my home, have a lot of time to work in my next book that we can talk. It's called Africa in the Americas, of the heritage of the African culture in the American continent. So I have a lot of time to spend to work, you know, because if we are always traveling, sometimes we don't give us the time to see our work, select our work, and that you deserve, you know, to be cleaning all the work. So I have a good time. I have a great time. But then basically it's a story with the vaccine. Sorry, you can help me how you say tinnitus?
Tinnitus?
Yeah, tinnitus. I have tinnitus. That's like a little ring in your ear 24 hours. So I have it for 4 years and I can handle it because it was soft. It's like
Before COVID, you already had tinnitus?
Yes, I have that. So in the beginning, it was a little bit stressful because then, you know, you're never going to be totally silent in your life. So you have like crickets, you know, like the TV when you was like all the time, you know. So after the vaccine, neurological or nerve system, something happened that my tinnitus went super high level, very annoying. And of course, I was very upset because in the beginning, I didn't want to take the vaccine. So I felt guilty to do it. Then I cannot sleep. I have big insomnia. When you cannot sleep, you really go to very dark sides, you know. And then I got very strong anxiety and depression. So I was very, very bad on my health. So sometimes the noise is so strong that I think if I give it to a normal person, that person want to go and kill himself because how you can live with that. But what is amazing, and I know it's a long process, I'm going to tell you, but what is amazing is how the brain can get used to whatever need to get used, and you can live with that, okay? So, of course, I don't sleep, so I went to big depression, I went to some, you know, kind of like a clinic, hospital to try to help your mental health. But I was very, very bad. So I went to a very strong process, getting worse and worse. At some point, I thought that maybe if I smoke a thing that's called bufo, that's DMT5, is a very strong medicine from the shamans on Mexico. It's stronger than ayahuasca, 5 times more stronger than ayahuasca. So people was, you know, people trying to tell you many, many, many things. And they told me, no, if you do that, it's going to help you to restart yourself. And of course, people need to be careful about that kind of things. Can be very good if you are in good mental health condition. But if you are not in good side and you're taking antipsychotic, anxiolytic, antidepressant pills like I was taking, that can be very dangerous. So I didn't die by a miracle. I think the shaman thought I was dead, but I come back to the life. And after that, I went to a strong process, going to a psychiatric hospital. And then I thought I recovered, but as I was telling you before, um, when you start to get better, you want to be back to the person that you think you was, and that's always going to be a mistake because life is telling you that something totally new is going to come in your life. So finally, after the third time, I was in a clinic of, it was a clinic more for people who have problem with drugs and alcohol. But every people who have any problem with drugs or alcohol is because they have a kind of like a mental health issue, right? Because for some reason you want to cover your bad feelings with drugs or drinking alcohol. So that was a fantastic clinic. Basically, it was like a miracle. Just one day, I found a very, powerful time meditation in my house. And I remember all the memories that maybe we talk later about all the times I live with the shamans in my life. And I have this strong feeling like I'm going to get strong of that. So I totally reinvent myself. I cut my hair, cut my beard, I give away all my clothes. And then, of course, I like to share that because there is always a possibility to heal yourself because it's so powerful when you have when you don't surrender, because of course many people like I was, and I have friends that they kill themselves, and that's very, very sad. But I have a daughter, I have a family, I have so many people alive, so I will never give up. So one day I just hire a personal trainer, I hire a massage, a healer, I start to play paddle every day, I start to do exercise. I'm in sober for 3 years. I used to be a big stoner, but no more. I never really problems with drugs or alcohol, but I mean, marijuana also can be something that cover your emotions. So I've been sober. I changed my diet. I go to sleep early. I do 3 hours exercise every day. And now I can say I am better than ever.
Wow.
So I think, and I think it's very important to say that if now someone asks me, Suki, what is yours more, strong ever traveler that you did in your life? Because I did a lot of like wild things. I will say going inside me. You need to be very, very brief, valiente, we say in Spanish, to really go inside, because sometimes, and now in this modern time, we escape to see what's going on inside. That's why meditation is so important, right? So now I have like a big list of good things that can help people to get a better mental health. And when you survive, you want to be also helping people. Yeah.
Great to have you back. And tell us how those skills and those mindset practices have helped you, if anything, be a better photographer. Or how has your photography changed or been impacted by the journey that you went through and coming out the other side of it?
Well, because, I will tell you something, like when I was taking pictures of my life, I never used nothing to take pictures. If I did smoke, for example, I will get high. I will do pictures that then I say like, oh, I thought they were good, but it's not so good when I am in the computer, right? So I never really use it for that. But what I can say that now I feel more like sharp, more focused, like things from photography than ever. So this last year, I worked very hard between personal work and workshops around the world. And I can see a difference in my photography. I don't know. I think I improve it. And also what is very good, every time I finish a work, I make sure it's 100% select the work. I cure my work 100%. And that's what I'm working right now. I have more than 15, 20 years of traveling around the world that I really never go back to see the work. So I have a lot of work to do. I start with India, took me 2 months. So that's already, clean. And now next is going to be Bali because I live here. So I have a lot of work. But yes, at some point, I use also my mental health experience on my workshops, because when you give a workshop, it's kind of like a therapy, People is confronting the ego, insecurities, And what I'm trying to make them feel comfortable is like photography workshop is not about competition. It's about how we can all work, create together, and learn each other, right? So I've been putting also breathing techniques, meditation techniques in my workshops lately.
I mean, I'm glad you're talking about this, and it's one of the first issues of the journey back to a healthy mind is being able to admit that you have an issue, whatever that might be, whether that's alcoholism, drugs, depression, a situation that you understand needs to somehow be fixed. But even more than that, now, once you kind of have that admission, to be able to talk about it, right? To be able to talk about it for your own therapeutic results, but also to inspire others. And it's so great to hear that you've now infused that into workshops, because I don't think, when I talk about mindfulness and having, and I just call it mindful photography, but just having a little bit more awareness and intention behind the craft that you love, i.e. photography or whatever it might be, a lot of people kind of shy away from that, think it's a little bit hippie, a little bit airy fairy, and photography is just photography, right? It's buttons and glass, basically. So it's great that now people are starting to understand that everything comes from here, everything in life, whether that's the skill that you want to learn, whether that's relationships, jobs, whatever it might be. If you're not right up here, or at least in some good level of health, then you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve, or B, make yourself happy or other people happy. So it's really nice that you've come out the other side of it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
A lot of people don't. So it's really fantastic to have you here in a healthy mindset, but also passing it on, right? Passing it forward, passing your story and your history and the experiences you went through onto other people and what you've learned, because it's all we have, right? At the end of the day, all we have is our mind. That everything stems from there. So thank you for sharing. There are a couple more questions on that. And one is, you said you hired, a couple of, I guess, seminal moments for you, some light bulb moments for you in those dark times. And you hired a personal trainer. Exercise really helped. You hired a massage therapist, you hired a healer. And I guess my question to you is, if people can't do that, it all costs money or, accessibility, what would you recommend if people are watching this and they are in a dark place and they want some help? What would you recommend? A couple of things.
Well, because my experience, I've been trying to help people. I go to clinics to give talks, not about photography. I give talks about my mental health experience. I go to AA, Alcoholic Anonymous, and Narcotic Anonymous as well, to give my testimony, Like we say, hello, my name is Sebastian. Hello, Sebastian. Everybody say, right? That kind of places. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to give your testimony, right? So I have opportunity that people contact me because they know I was almost dead and I survived. So if the person is starting to be on depression or anxiety, it's important to get right away a psychology, go to the psychology to do therapy, because not many people can talk the problems to the friends or to the relatives. So it's the worst thing you can do is keep, because that sooner or later is going to explode. So if it's necessary, and I don't say that's will say the therapist, if it's necessary, don't be afraid to go to a psychiatric. Don't be afraid to take psychiatric medicine, because it's not forever. It's just for hard moment that can help you to put down depression, down anxiety. And also, when you are very bad, I highly recommend to go to a clinic, and they know it's not less than 4 weeks or 5, 6 weeks, because what happened, you lose the sense of the daily life. That's why you don't make the bed, you don't clean your teeth, you don't eat. You are like dead person, but still alive. That's how you are when you are in a big depression. So what this clinic does is to put it in a routine. You wake up at 7 in the morning, you do exercise, you do yoga, you go to group therapy, you have your own therapy, you have horse therapy, dog therapy. but you are 14 hours of activities, and that needs to be at least 6 weeks. So the real work, of course, starts when you leave the clinic and you keep the routine, because that's the problem. Like I told you, if you are bad and someone come, like thousands of friends told me, oh, do this, do that, do that. Nothing work. So you go to a clinic, you have professional people. You need to put on the hands of professional people. I can do good photography, but some people live and have this passion and this gift to help other people, to have empathy for other people. So put your hand, don't be afraid, don't be with shame, like, I'm not enough strong, I can do it by myself. Sometimes we need to surrender, give up, and know that if we are having this inside, it's a spiritual awakeness. And I highly recommend a movie, and I feel this in my skin right now. That's one of the stronger ever movie I saw about mental health, and I recommend that to you as well. It's called Crazy, like Crazy Wise. It's made by this photographer, Phil Borges.
Crazy Wise.
Crazy Wise.
Spell it?
I'm so bad spelling, but crazy like cuckoo, and wise like when you are like
W-I-S-E.
Yes.
Crazy Wise. Okay.
You can get that movie in YouTube.
Okay.
And that movie is made by a documentary photographer, Philip Borges, who started to make, he's a photographer, but he did this fantastic documental filming about how schizophrenic it's handled in Western society, but also how this kind of like mental health can be a bless on indigenous people, like in Siberia. Schizophrenic means that people hear voices, but also that can be like a channel. So there is a healer in Siberia and places that he found that those people are not like just crazy and kind of like pushed out of society. They're very respected because they can have the sensitivity that we don't have. So that is a great movie that I think is a fantastic, because it gives you like the perspective of how these people could be like a holy people in indigenous society and how they can be like, living on the side of the society, using drugs in white trash America. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll watch that.
Yes.
I think for I guess what I'm still trying to get at is if, clinics cost money, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
Psychologists cost money. So if we, you talked about exercise earlier, meditation and stuff. There are a lot of free resources, but it always comes down to wanting to do it. It's too easy to sit and feel sorry for yourself. I've been there, right? It's too easy to spend the day in bed, right? And not want to get up and go for a 10-minute walk or go for a 20-minute run or go and sit with your thoughts for 5 minutes, right? It's easy for us to say, go to a clinic if you've got the money, but there's still something that, when you are depressed, you don't want to do any of that. You don't care about any of that, right? So it's a really difficult place.
Well, that's a good question. And I always thank God that I have these tools to spend a lot of money and cannot work for 3 years. So for me, of course, was the best money I ever invested in my life. But if you don't have that opportunity, and if you really want to get out, there's 2 things I will recommend. Number 1, whatever, you need to do exercise. Because when you exercise don't mean just go to the gym, means walk, run, something that move the blood and go to your brain and give oxygen, CO2 to your brain, because that's going to bring you life. It's like putting water in a plant that is dying to be dry. Second, help. If you go to help people, go to people that is worse than you. And that is going to give you the most beautiful energy back to be back in the life.
Wonderful. I love it. We talked about before we came on air, and you mentioned shamans, and obviously health and spirituality is a huge part of you as a person, but also what you do in photography. What brought you to, or what attracted you to photographing indigenous populations in the first place? And we can rewind to when you had a National Geographic front cover, right? And we can rewind to the incredible photos and series and projects you've done. But what is it about these subcultures and indigenous populations that sparks your curiosity?
Okay, I need to tell you this. When I run workshops, and then I'm going to go to your question, I always start, before I talk about the aesthetic on photography, I give a lecture that's called Ethics in Human, Documentary Human Photography. Ethics, right? And of course, that's have now a lot to do with what I live. That's, the patient and be empathy with the people. We can talk about that later. But about the question that you tell me, there is text that Ansel Adams, that I always talk, that is Ansel Adams says, the photography that we make is the books that we read, the music like we heard, the things like we like from the life, blah, blah. So when I start to present my work, I always put that phrase from Ansel Adams, because there is a reason that I dedicate my life to that kind of photography, right? I will tell you 3 main subjects. Number 1, when I was 7 years, I lost 3 brothers that they're being killed by the militaries in the dictatorship times in Argentina. As you know, or many people know, or if you don't know, it's good to know, on the 70s, there was a lot of regimes, dictator times, sponsored by, of course, US, in Latin America, Central America, South America, and Argentina was the time where the militaries kill any people that they think they were a socialist, right? Also, they kill if you have long hair, if you listen Pink Floyd, they were like terrible time. And they killed 30,000 people, including 3 of my brothers, okay? So I was 7 years old. I was pretty innocent. I was playing with matchbox, but of course that have an impact, because my brothers, they were like socialist people, and they live in ghettos, and they try to fight for the better world.
How old were they at the time?
19, 21, and 24, okay? So of course it's a big thing. On the same time, when I was 19 years old, I left my school. I went to travel with my girlfriend and backpacking in South America. And then I met these communities that unfortunately also they call reservations in Argentina. And I live with the Mapuches, Araucanos, and these beautiful people with dark skin. That I was like, I don't know nothing, because nobody teach me that in my English school, private English school. These people with dark skin, they were telling me that they suffer las campañas del desierto. That is when this guy Roca, who became a hero with the name of Roca, every avenue, schools, institution. He was the guy that I learned in the school. He was like the big hero, but he was the guy in charge of killing all the indigenous people, bringing progress to Argentina, so English people can come and have big farms and all that, right? So these people still have the memories of that times, and they were crying to me. So of course I was like, what? Nobody teach me that. So when I come back from this trip, even my second mother, my other mother, my nanny, that she's still alive, then I realized why she have dark skin, why she speak this weird language, because she speak Quechua that is similar to Quechua from the north of Argentina. And then I realized that there is a whole other story, a side of the other story that I never learned. So when I started to do photography, and I was a passion reader of Carlos Castañeda, who is a guy who lived with shamans, and he published like 14 books and have a global impact around the world about the teaching of Don Juan, about this shaman who teach many spiritual things. Anyway, when I can tell you in another question why I started to do photography, but when I started to do photography, I realized that I want to do something that can be useful in the future, not just commercial, not just making money, because I want to keep at some point the work that my brother sacrificed their lives.
So how can photography in that respect be useful? And is there more importantly, is there a responsibility of photographers to drive awareness and potentially drive change in that respect?
Well, my first years as a photographer, I not consider myself a photographer. I was like on a spiritual path, traveling around Latin America. Of course, I started in 91 in Mexico. I was a student of another reality where they teach me human values that still exist, how the people respect the ancestors, the elders, the kids, how they make their clothes, how they make the medicine, how they make the houses, how they can be sustainable. At that time, to be indigenous, it was a shame. They don't like to dress traditional in the city. They don't like to speak because people will have fun of them. And that's changed, okay? Thank God that's changed. And now people are proud of traditional clothes, proud of the knowledge that they have, because now they speak in United Nations, and of course with the warming up of the weather, these people are the real guardians who have the knowledge, So when I start to do photography and I start to 91, I spent 5 months with $400 traveling in Mexico and Guatemala. 5 months with $400, yes. And I did that job. And then I did Guatemala. And then in 92, I did Ecuador. And I live in the Amazon. I live alone with 30 days with the shamans, naked. Many, 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 many stories. At that time, my mother was living in New York. So New York is fantastic. I never studied photography, by the way. We can talk about that later. So I went to New York after 6 months in Mexico, then 4 months in Ecuador. And, and I have this work in my hands. I have no idea if it was good, if it was... Why I was doing that, it was because I have this calling that I need to learn from the other side of the story that nobody teach me before. And I was feeling that it's important to preserve this tradition through photography. So one day I can do some kind of like education. So the first 4 or 5 years on other trips I did, I never show my work. I will tell you how come. I only go to schools, college, university to give the knowledge that nobody teach me. And I was going to the schools not to talk about photography, about social things, about how important these people live, how beautiful they are, how they never let me sleep in the floor. They always give me food. They always treat me like a brother. A lot of things like in this society, we are losing the human values, right? So one day I decide to call some agency of image in New York, and I have a meeting with Tony Stone. And Tony Stone was at that time a stronger agency to sell pictures around the world. They love my work. And they say, Suki, we want to represent you in America, in Europe, in Japan. And then I was very happy. I went back home where my mother lived. I put a candle in my altar. I started to play music. And I have this feeling like, no, I cannot do that. That's not fair for the people who trust me. To now, I'm going to sell them. And one day I'm going to see a shaman on a Coca-Cola advertising in Japan. I will kill myself. Right? Yeah. So I went back to Tony Stone. I said, no, I only can give you some landscape, some church, wherever don't include portraits of the people, because I feel this work have another work than be commercial. And I feel good I do that. Okay? So do you want to know how I knew I was a good photographer? Because I didn't know. I never studied photography. I was working very by my instincts. So, okay, this is a true story. At that time, I never studied English, right? At that time, I have learned 30 words in English, but I was in New York because my mother was living there. So I was just coming from the jungle. I was just coming from big trip in Ecuador, but I feel like I need to show this work. So I grabbed the phone at that time. I called Time magazine. I say, hello, I just come from the jungle. You gotta see this picture. I was naked with them. And they thought I'm crazy, of course. They were polite and said, no, you need to drop your portfolio every Thursday or every, okay. Time magazine. Hello, I just come from the jungle. Everybody was telling me the same thing. You need to drop your portfolio, blah, 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 blah. One day, after I called Magnum, I called ICP, International Center of Photography. And I called, I'm just come from the jungle, right? Blah, blah, blah. And the lady's like, wait 1 moment. Then, hello, another person. Yes, how I can help you? I say the same thing. He said, 1 moment, I'm gonna give you with another person. Hello, this voice sounds like an old person, right? Sebastian, where are you? And I tell, I am in Upper East New York. Oh, what about if you come tomorrow? We are in West, and I'm happy to see your work. So I put my portfolios back. My brother, he's a great artist and he's a photographer, helped me to put very professional I was shooting slides at that time. So you have these
What year was this?
92, 93. And I have this portfolio that you make on this black,
Cardboard?
Yes, cardboard, and you put the slides and then you put it on the light box and it look professional. Of course, I did it very nice. My brother is very good on that. He helped me a lot. So I go to ICP. I don't even remember who won it. And I sit with this man. And then this man was Colonel Capa, the brother of Robert Capa, who also was the director of ICP, who created the Magnum agency, right?
Yeah, huge.
And he spent at least 2 hours watching my work. And he told me, Suki, this is a fantastic work. I mean, tell you, I don't know about photography much. I never study. So my point with this, that he made me understand that work have a artistic quality beside what I was looking for, that is like the message that you can give. And I learned also that before I publish this book, I need to grow up inside myself to that work be presented like should be for the respect of the people who trust me, right? And he told me, this is one of the best work I see about indigenous people in Latin America, and we're gonna call, and he in front of me called all the magazine that I call all, including Magnum, and he made me 7 incredible appointments in 20 minutes.
Amazing.
So I have the opportunity to go to all these guys, and I was not looking money, successful. I was just learning from the feedbacks of them. And after that, I keep working with another, confidence, because I know I was doing something like it can be, I don't know how it can work in a better way if I keep working. It's not like, okay, I'm going to stay in New York. I'm going to try to be a New Yorker photographer. No, that gave me inspiration to keep working.
So fast forward to 2005 when you had National Geographic front cover. How did that come about? Tell us about the image.
Well, that came because when 2004 I published my first book, Guardian of the Time, we were looking for sponsors and we approached to National Geographic, but National Geographic just published a similar work, about the indigenous, from this amazing photographer from Ecuador. I forgot the name. So, but they like my work a lot, and they like a lot the story of the Cogis, what is a community in Colombia, one of the stronger, more pure indigenous people in the planet, and they have an important message called an important video documentary by the BBC about the warning of the change of the environmental. My point is like they like that story, and when they met me 2 months ago, 2 months after they met me, they moved everything to publish that. I was very happy to publish an article about the Cogis. And then I keep in contact with them. Once in a while, they will buy me some article. And then in Latin America, they have in Mexico one office that represents Latin America. So one day, when I start to do my second book to be published, Africa in the Americas, I did this trip in Trinidad and Tobago, this carnival, crazy. And I really felt I have a very strong article. So I say, wow, let's propose Washington, D.C. to have a cover, 20-page article. And he was, Suki, wow, we cannot do that. Come on. It's okay if they let us make an article of 4 or 5 pages. I said, we have the no. We have the no. Let's work it out. Let's try to be, And then we propose them to Washington, D.C. And yes, they come back with the approval to have the cover, and we do a 20-page portfolio. And it's called The Colors of Freedom. And it's the cover, is the picture of this amazing lady all dressed up from Trinidad and Tobago. And that's the part of a long project work I have about how all this culture transformed from Africa to America.
That was a big project, wasn't it? In multiple countries, you travel.
16 countries and different trips in the same countries. But when I was publishing the book, I moved to Bali. Then I started to get in love with Asian cultures, because that's another story to talk, how related are indigenous people from Asia to the one from Latin America, instead of, physiognomy, instead also on everything, the music, how the weaving, everything, right? So I put a pause in Africa in the Americas. But, the good thing of documentary photography is the other side of fashion. Fashion go away like this. When you do documentary, it's preserved and actually timeless. Get more value with time. Yeah, timeless. So yes, I need to publish that book, I know. And when I do it, I know it's going to be the right time with the right people.
Yeah. Let's dig down a little bit into these cultures and preserving not only the dignity, but helping preserve and protect these indigenous populations, if indeed that's what they want, right? I'm really interested in this kind of topic as the world becomes more globalized, photography industry becomes more saturated, everyone's got a camera in their hand, people are traveling everywhere, it's easier than ever to travel the world, which means a lot of these indigenous populations are becoming more exposed, right? So on one hand, photography can serve a purpose to document, but also help preserve these types of cultures. But on the other hand, there's a huge danger in if driving the awareness of these cultures, more people will go, the cultures themselves and the populations will become more westernized in themselves because they meet more Western people, they maybe get more money, and it snowballs, right? Tell me your thoughts on that today in 2024 as the world moves faster than ever. How do you go about preserving, or at least having the priority in yourself as an artist to try and protect these populations?
Well, that's a very good question, a very complex thing, very complex because you can see that in many, many different ways. I started to do indigenous people in 91. It was another war, of course. There was not the internet. There was not this brightness that the indigenous people feel right now. That's very important. Listen, when I started to do that, I really thought at 91, 92, 93, thought that now those culture will be disappear because how fast was things change. But guess what? They're better than before. They're better than before because people now, the indigenous people, like I say before, now they have a space to present, the knowledge, and, they have giving talks and speech around the world, United Nations. So now on that is a good thing. I do photography to preserve. Yes, I do that to preserve, because there is many places that, yes, I did that now have been changed forever, no? People, of course, not all preserve the culture. So I think photography, for me, it's always a fantastic bridge, to give them like a platform. That was my idea. So that's why when I start to publish my work, I try to do it with something like really right, with knowledge about them, For me, it was more, and is more about the human values always. How amazing these people have these concepts about life, about sharing, and that's for me is the big thing. And that's why, as a photographer running workshops, you need to understand, when I start to do this work, I only travel alone. Why? Because if I am with another Western, I feel like they can see me like I am protected at some point with another one. When they see you alone, they just want to help you. Because why this guy is alone? So every day in 10 years, someone adopt me. Every day. Never happened that I need to sleep under a tree with my stomach empty. Never, right? And then things change. I travel with my ex-wife. I travel with my ex-wife and my daughter. That's bring another contact with the feminine side. If you have a kid, forget it. If you're a kid, you are like more than welcome with them, right? So, and that's why now bringing people to these sensitive places, that's why I give this talk about the ethics, because it's very sad, and I'm trying to pretend to don't be judging, when I was traveling and you see a bus coming from whatever, I don't want to put a nation, but people,
China
or French people, right? Whatever. And they come, these white privileged people with this big lens, and they act like they are in a zoo, but they're not in a zoo. They're shooting indigenous people in the market with any respect. And I will feel so sad about that,
But this, sorry to interrupt, but this is really what my question is geared towards, because I battle with this dilemma all the time, because I want to go and photograph similar people that you do, right? But I battle with the ethics of it, because how does photographing these populations help to preserve them? All it does is grow the awareness that they are there and drive potentially more people to them. I mean, look at Bali. What a perfect example, right? 20 years ago, Bali was a very, very difficult place. The argument can be that it's brought more wealth to the local people here, which is a fact, and it's true. But on the other hand, it's lost a lot of its cultural beauty and indigenous beauty that was present in the island, and its spirituality, which is arguably still here, but is definitely been diluted. So there's this constant battle, and then you've just touched upon it there, when you see busloads of people coming with their 100 to 400 mil lens. And
I try to do my part. My part is like, every time I have people taking a workshop, I know they're going to be much more careful, much more awareness of approaching to the people, and never take a picture of a person without make a contact before. That's my goal. I try to give to my students. They do it or don't they do it is on their karma. But I say, don't just point the camera in front of a guy. That's why I don't like street photography, okay? I have so much respect for street photographers, but it's pretty violent. But if you use street photography in New York, in the city, in a big, big crowd place, I understand it's not the same that go to a local indigenous market and be pointing the camera on the people. So I saw the running workshop, for example, in Oaxaca, Day of the Dead, in the cemetery, where people stayed all night long with these incredible grapes full of flowers, candles, incense, all night with their relative that passed away on ground, earth, graves. And I say to my student, cannot bring flash, of course, cannot bring tripod, of course, and then without judgment, but there is other photographer that brings students, and I see people with flash, I see people with tripod, and they should not do that because it's not about the photo, it's about the experience. Once you learn that, your photography is going to improve because you're going to improve inside, and that's where we're talking about ethics, because you need to understand the experience is much more important because the experience stayed in your hard drive, your heart as a hard drive forever. Photography, you can publish, you can make exhibition, but when you relax about that and you enjoy the experience, the good picture is going to come, because the other side is anxiety, is the pressure, it's like your ego working there, and spiritual and ego don't work together, right? So I try to do my part. I'm trying to, through my work, and that's why I run a workshop, because I never studied photography, but I run a workshop for 15 years. I have more than 100 and 1,000 students because I think what they like is just my experience. I talk about my experience, I never studied in Brooks, I never studied in ICP, Parsons School, but I give lectures there, right? But because I work, and that's, when I was in school, I had three things to be in the school. I am dyslexic, I have a deficit of attention, and I am hyperactivist. So I suffer every day for 13 years. But thank God I found this way to channel my energy through photography. I'm very disciplined as well. I'm a Capricorn, that we are very obsessive, and then, yes, I work on that. So once again, yes, you open Instagram, and then you see all these people with Ethiopian picture with the flowers in it. I cannot see that. I want to go to Ethiopia, but I don't want to.
You sound like me. I mean, there's so many things you've just said, me talking all the time, exactly the same way. First of all, if you look at, people ask me about this photo on the wall. I can't see it at the moment, but this photo on the wall, which is one of my favorites, not because of the technical aspect of it or the aesthetic aspect. I remember, I can tell that story and my experience with the girl like it was yesterday, and it was very meaningful to me, so much so that it's tattooed on my arm, right? The experience outweighs the photograph 100 times. And as soon as you understand that, you're perfectly right. Your photography you release something. You're more creative, you're more flowing, you're more relaxed about it, and you're more inspired, because you know that if you focus on the cliche, but you focus on the process, you focus on the experience, enjoying that experience, creating those memories, the photos will come. Definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, documentary photography, I'm talking about indigenous people, is a very privileged thing to do, because I've been doing this 34 years and I'm still like a child. I just come from Sumatra 3 days ago, brother. And that's why I like to work with his friend, David Medhaf, who's have a base here. He's a fantastic guy to travel in Indonesia with him. He says, Suki, you're like a child. I said, yes, I became a child. I like to talk with the people, I like to laugh with the people. I became a clown with the people, because this is how pure the people is, I don't go there like a photographer, boring, No, I'm just go to learn every day. They have a lot to teach us, So once again, like you say, I say to the people when they ask me, my students, hey, what happened? How I do that? I say, listen, guy, walk, keep your cameras inside and walk, observe, see the light, see the shadows, see how the people connect with the people, when, of course, but before, when I was working, I will come to a community for 10 days. The first 3 days, I don't take my camera with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take my camera. I leave it in the wherever I was sleeping. Because first I want to understand a little bit and make contact with the people. And then in the day 4, I will walk with my camera. I will go with the people that I already met. I will build a relation. And you can feel it it's not about technical. You can be an amazing technical person, but if you don't contact with there's something in the expression. You need to make a contact with the person. And then what happens if you stay 2 hours talking about many, many things, and then it's the moment, hey, may I make your portrait? No. Don't be upset.
Yeah.
Get the beautiful experience that man have so many because there is a history in every life. There's a fantastic story, And sometimes you meet these men, these people, that they feel very happy to talk with you. Because I like all men, right? I like all kind of people, right? But I have a big passion for elders, right? Because I don't know, my heart just...
Well, they have so much wisdom and probably so many stories to tell themselves. Right?
But how indigenous people treat elders is very different and much more healthy than modern society that they put them, aside. But even there are people who spend a lot of time alone. So when you ask them in a respectful way to make a portrait, they feel proud. They feel like, oh, this guy's, is putting interest on me. And that's why when I do a portrait, I always, and that's a tip that I always give to anyone, to my students, when you're going to select your work, you are at home, finally, you have your whatever, your juice, or if you can drink beer, your beer, and you're going to always start for the last ones, not for the first ones, because always the best ones are the last ones. So why you going to start with the first one and then, so better start with the last one and then through you go to the first one, garbage. Because you build a contact, you build, understanding the place and understanding, things that you saw better in the house. But this is about how the art of portrait. I'm a portrait photographer, as you know. This is my big, big passion, And I like other kind of photography. I did all kind of photography, and I love street photography as artistic skills and how all the elements, blah, blah, blah. But I just love to contact with people, That's my big passion, yeah.
When it comes to storytelling with people, and you talked about a little bit of your process there when you travel, you don't pick up your camera for the first few days. That also helps. I mean, I do the same thing, and it also helps with the people on the other side of your lens becoming a little bit more comfortable with you, which is hugely important when you're asking them to look into the camera on day 4 or day 5, right? So it's as much as you being comfortable and making contact and connections with them, but it's also them making connections and contact with you, and eventually, hopefully, breaking that ice, getting to know each other, and hopefully getting a nicer shot because of it, because they're more relaxed, they're more engaged with you, they're more interested, they're more proud, etc., etc. Tell me about other elements of storytelling. If you're doing a workshop, or if you're teaching others, or if you're on location yourself, what are you thinking about when it comes to the story as a whole, but also the story of an individual photo?
Well, I think it depends. It depends when I run a workshop or as a personal work?
Either. Or how do you teach, I guess, in terms of the workshop, how would you teach storytelling? What type of advice would you give others in terms of?
I think what I teach on photography, and is an ongoing process work, is educating the eyes. Is educating the art of observing. That's what I teach. And I try to teach all this about ethics when you work with people. So then they can use it for future work. Storytelling is another story. For example, I was thinking and talking yesterday with David Metcalf about that. Like, for example, maybe one day to make a different workshop where you go to Varanasi and you have 6 fixers, 6 students, and every student can choose a story to work for 7 days.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be amazing. But that's
expensive, but amazing.
Yes, but this is people who already need to know something about photography. And then they can work with this story of the guy who cleans shoes on the street and how they live, blah, blah, blah. That's, yes, but I don't do that. I go for whatever in Mexico and, where all these places around workshop, and we travel through the places, communities, and kind of like what I engage them is how to contact with the people, how to, from the hello until the final masterpiece shot. How is the process? That's what I teach, and they can use them after, and educating the eyes when you go to the house, understanding where is the best place. Sometimes the place that you think is the best is the worst, and the worst is the best because it's super low light and the texture of the wall. So that's what I teach them, right? So I work with beginners to professional, right? And people is like, how are you going to do that? Sometimes I have a client that kind of like complain, why are you accepting? I'm a photographer. How you can accept someone that never? You will be surprised why. It's not a commercial thing I'm doing. You will be surprised because we all see it different. And I say something like it's a guy called Suki, not me, another guy, Suki, that said that sometimes knowledge, if you have too much technical knowledge, it can be a problem because you think too much in the technical way, taking the picture. And then when you are with empty, so much information like a nerd, you can be more creative because it's imagination. So this time, for example, this woman, fantastic, I love her, Teresa, she comes, this is my camera in a box. I will pay you more. Please. From the first day, okay, with her, for the first day, she take pictures. She was using manual, but she took a 10 days workshop with me. The first 2, I don't let her use the camera. She was like, be with me and you tell me where you see good light. And you're going to take picture without the camera first. And every time you see something good, tell me if it's bring your attention, and it will tell you if you are. And I was so surprised. Hey, look how the light comes from the Okay, you're ready. And in the last day, when she presented the work, everybody was,
wow,
because she worked from the emptiness, talking about mindfulness. And yes, this guy, he was good, right? He was good, but that don't mean, you will be surprised. It's the art of observing photography. Have nothing to do, technically it's important, of course, but it's a little part of that, it's a little part of that. So in the workshops, it's about experience. It's about having fun. It's about respecting each other. And of course, the bigger skills they learn is when we review the work of everybody in front of everybody.
No one likes that.
And this is about 7 good, maybe 7, maybe 2, maybe 1, maybe 4, final, the masterpiece. So, and I help them to curate the work from the work from the first selection, second selection, third selection, and then this is your best 3 pictures and why those 3 pictures are the best. And that's how they learn. And I learn a lot running workshops. That's what I like to run workshops. They're my masters. I learn so much from my students. And I think my photography improves so much running workshops because you are putting not only your attention, their attentions. it's a fantastic teamwork to do.
With the younger generation or beginner photographers these days, in your experience, having given workshops to so many beginners and just meeting people wanting to get into photography, where do you feel the biggest challenges for them? Because we talk about being a little bit more mindful, be a bit more intentional, maybe a bit more slow with how you see things before you even pick up a camera. But on the other side, there seems to be in the photography industry a lot of pressure to earn money, take commercial jobs, one after another, bang, 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 bang. Social media pressures, exposure pressures, where do I show my work? More competition than ever. Do you see those issues in your experience with beginners? And if so, how do you kind of consult them to get through those difficulties?
Oh, that's a tough question because I think I was very lucky to still belong to a generation that can live as a photographer. I live as a photographer all my life, since I am 19 years old. I belong to that generation that I worked for 10 years for editorials magazine. They send me all around the world. They pay me to travel. They give me good money to spend when I was traveling. It's over, right? I really will be worried. I don't want to put that into the new generation, but come on. AI. Sorry, I'm dyslexic, you see? AI. Oh my God, scary, right? Advertising. Who's going to spend so much money? Like, I do advertising, but not all can. I refuse work that, like, for company like tobacco company, alcohol company. I did some because they pay well. But right now, I mean, even one student told me the other day in one photography that we were discussing, blah, blah, blah. But now you in AI, you can put the whatever. No! I like to work pure. I don't retouch my picture. I belong to the generation of slide old school. So yes, of course, we shoot in RAW. Of course, we need to do a little adjust, but I don't know nothing about Photoshop. I know 4 things: how to open, how to put contrast, clarity, that's it, right? So, oh my God. I mean, we need to see what is happening with these new digital nomads. I met this girl, Sofia, the other day from Argentina, 22 years old, and now she's 25. Oh my God, she's been traveling 50 countries. And I think, once again, talking about how we can survive in this world as a mental health or as a worker, we need to reinvent ourselves. I mean, thank God I run a workshop. I will be asking money in the street with all my respect, because photography as a photographer, it reduced maybe 5%, you know? I mean, yes, still wedding photographer, still, commercial photographer, of course, but it's much more hard because what we were talking about, because the competition, but there is always, a way to make it happen. And when I see this, like, nomad digital traveling, making contests, and at least I was so proud of her. I talked with her, I give you some advice, and it's great work she does. She's educating people about cultures, about traditions, and she found a way to, of course, people pay the hotel. And, once you have a lot of followers, you need to have a lot of followers, blah, 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 blah. So yes, I will recommend to follow your heart always. Don't be afraid, because we cannot be, be afraid means we freeze. And with freeze, we don't go ahead. So there's always a way to follow your heart and not just get what happened a lot in the commercial thing, and do such a commercial things, just to put your dreams up, I think people ask me many, many times. Of course, I told you, I spent my first trip 5 months with $400. And now maybe you spend that in 4 days because whatever budgets are different. But you still can travel very cheap. You still can, find the ways to follow amazing stories to be told, I have so much respect for war photographer, for example.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
My bigger respect, because I cannot do that. Because, after the story of my family, I cannot do that, right? That's why instead to document the most horrible things happening in the world, my life take me to document the most beautiful things still going on Earth. And that's are the countryside people from anywhere, So new generation, keep your dreams, follow your heart, follow your dreams, you will find it. You need to work. As I always say to my students, I got where I got and whatever books on National Geographic after all that, not because me. Yes, because me, but because my work. My work took me to all these places. My work took me to be a guy who started to run photography workshops, right? But if I work hard, you need to work hard always, and things is gonna happen, right?
Yeah, there's so many things from that I want to unpack. One is when we talk about people following their heart and doing whatever they can to get by, and we talked about digital nomads as a great example. And being in Bali, there's many of them here, or influencers or content creators, whatever they want to call themselves. Where does the need to grow a following and an audience to pay the bills and the responsibility as a photographer or content creator lie? Because there's a very fine line between, well, I'm doing this for myself because I want to do it, I want to travel the world, and I want to get paid for it. And there's a fine line between that and having influence, essentially having a big enough audience where you can actually impact change, or you can impact people's opinions, or you can drive awareness. And there seems to be a difficult place for those types of photographers where they don't know where that begins. Let's say they get to 100,000 followers on Instagram, right? They now, whether you agree with me or not, I guess I'm going to ask you, but do they then, is there some point they have a responsibility to be more responsible with what they put out there? And rather than go to some of these fantastic places in Bali, get a quick shot under a waterfall and move on to the next thing. It's this kind of take mentality crossed with potentially giving back.
Well, my point to try to don't affect those kind of things I'm not so popular in Instagram. I'm talking about whatever, 30,000 is not compared with people now having millions, right? But I recommend, for example, if I do a shooting in this grave in Oaxaca, I put Oaxaca. I don't put the name of the town. And that's what I recommend. Don't put that. We were talking about this photographer, I don't want to put the name, who worked with the Mentawai, the Mentawai in Sumatra on the 90s. I love the work. I got the book and I was dreaming going there for 30 years until I did it in 2019. And that guy, without a bad intention, in the book, put the name of the shamans, put the name of the places, and then, of course, many filmmakers, many photographers, when they want to do the Mentawai, and probably I will do that if I did it a long time ago, they were searching for these people. These people, what happened, are innocent, are like childs. The ego start to raise because they feel important, because many people is coming from around the world. And what happened with the other people? Jealousy start to happen. And then they want to kill each other because this guy having more power than the other guy. And that's how fragile can be those kind of things. So in my books, I never put the name of the place. I put maybe, for example, the Huichol tribe, the shamanic peyote tribe, Mexico. That's it. I will never put the name of the person, the name of the community and the sub-name of the little town, because you want to avoid to, and these people, of course, that you said, yes, of course, this Instagram thing, they post a picture, and then now there is like the Instagram picture, of course, that millions of people go to the same spot, but that's what happened when you, so yes, if you're going to go to this amazing place, whatever, we can say many examples, Papua, I will put Papua tribe or whatever the name of the tribe and the name of the, so I think that can help to avoid to bring more people. Yeah.
What is your purpose with photography?
Preserve. In my purpose, I will put one word is preserve. Some people preserve national park, and I think through doing with the dignity a portrait of someone that still keep the language, the knowledge. You know how I did my first book? Following the way they dress. That's how I was like, every time I saw this incredible, no custom, no traditional clothes that they do, they dress every day. So that's how I was traveling, following. I went to the Museum of Anthropology in Mexico, and I write down like every name of the place that I love, and that's going to be the places I'm going to go. That's how I started in 91 on those times, right? Following the way they dress. And for me, is to preserve. That means next step is to educate, I like to give talks. I like to give conference. I like to talk about all these human values and ancestral knowledge that they have and how they connect with the world of the spirit, the shamans, the healers. I saw incredible things that your mind will never understand because, as we know, we only work with a little 3-4% of our power of our brain. And these people, because they're pure, because they don't distract themselves with so much thing like we do more in these times, these people have another kind telepathic. Telepathic is a true thing. But because it's intuition, because it's nature, it's the power of nature. And that's how I recover, because the power of nature is always changing. Nothing is going to get stuck. Nothing. Only get stuck is our thought when we're trying to keep the things one way, but it's not going to work because everything changed, right? So art change, photography change. When I turn to digital, I have a big crisis. If I would have another talent, I will maybe stop to do photography because I feel horrible when I digital start because I was so good on slides, transparency, shooting in the right position, then saw it in the magic light box. And then what? And people come to my exhibition, oh, you're amazing on Photoshop. What? No. I don't do Photoshop. I mean, yeah, you know what I mean? Like this is old school, So, but then one day I need to accept that digital also have good skills. Of course, more people take pictures. Of course, also more people can take my workshops.
What do you shoot on now?
Nikon A50, no mirrorless.
Okay, DSLR.
No mirrorless.
Keeping your old school roots as long as possible.
I shoot like all times. I shoot still like my pictures need to be the right exposure. I'm not thinking in process. Never. I shoot like I have slide because I shoot that 18 years, right? And I basically use the 14 and the 24. That's it. I normally don't use other lens.
Yeah.
Right now I came here to Indonesia with 14, 24, and one flash.
14 mil, that's wide, man.
I like that.
You like that look?
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
can see it in a lot of your photos.
I love that, yes. Yeah. Because I came in this trip to one idea and was taking portrait of in West Sumatra with these amazing houses on the back. So for that, I want a big, wide angle, and then sometime I want a 24 if I don't want to be so much like wild, Yeah.
Have you ever faced we talk about representing the culture and preserving, if we can. Have you ever faced criticism with how you've maybe represented a culture? If so, what was the story?
Yes, yes, of course. Like sometime if I run a workshop in Oaxaca and I publish it public, and people like, "Oh, you're doing," I don't know how you said in English when, gentrification, when like happening in Bali, like people from all over the world come and live here because it's cheap and things get expensive because people is coming to live here. And, sometimes people can be critique, but they just blah, blah. They don't know me. They don't really know my story, my history, what I do that. And then I discovered the guy also is doing pictures of indigenous people, but so I say, well, so you are Mexican and you critique me because I'm white and taking picture in Mexico. So you will go to Japan. Yeah. You will not go to India. And then when I saw you traveling in another place, hey, so you're not doing the same thing. So, I mean, you need to trust and believe what you're doing, And of course, people can be telling you many, many things. I want to tell you one story. One time when this guy, this holy man, Colonel Kappa, he contacted me to Time magazine. And I went to see David Friend, who was the director of photography of Time magazine back in 93. And the assistant of David cried when he saw the picture because she got emotion with the stories and the pureness of the people. Oh my God, that's going to be incredible. I'm sure we're going to make a great article. I was showing the work. I was not expecting nothing. I was a child. I was 23 years old. I just grabbed my camera 2 years ago, right? So when David Friend saw the picture, he said, "This is super nice work, Sebastian. Congratulations. I love it, but it's a work for a museum or for a gallery. It's too beautiful to be in my magazine." I say, "Excuse me?" "Yes." Because he, from his office, from his perception, he may think that indigenous must be black and white, they look dirty, they look poor, because that was they perceive. But what I told him is like, I'm totally respect you, but let me tell you that these people are not poor. Their lack of material are the most rich people I ever met. And that's why all the pictures you saw, no black background, no artificial lights. All I did in my first book during 10 years was natural light with natural, backgrounds, because the houses of the indigenous people are pretty dark. So when you put them on the window or the door, all the back became black, like you have a black background, right? So, and this is how they dress every day, and this is how proud they are. But he didn't get it because he never really traveled and know these people. And the assistant got so upset. He was like, "I'm gonna talk with him." No. No. Don't worry. I'm happy. You perceive something. He perceive another thing. I respect that. But that's my point. People sometimes when you see these faces, sometimes super strong looks, they can depend in what also they are feeling or how they are. They can say, "Oh, they look so sad." No, they're not sad. They're just like, I will never tell them smile to take the picture, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the art of portraits is the way you connect with a person. That Master Salgado say, it's Sebastian Salgado said, it's not the photographer, it's the one that is being photographed. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And connection is a very difficult thing to achieve, but once you get it with the person being photographed, it's priceless, right?
I'm talking about different things, and of course I can sound naive on that, but yes, for me the principal skills on photography, it's light. And when I'm talking about light, it's what I try to also teach in my workshop. And I think that's, I have this, thank God, this gift, because as I told you, when I present my work in New York, I didn't know that I was doing artistic skills, photography, undocumented photography. But yes, one day, everything started like this. I was in Oaxaca, 91. I talked with the people and I saw how the light is outside. And then I asked the lady to sit inside of the house. And then when I put a chair near the window of the door, I saw the subtle light. And I never really studied painting, Rembrandt, but something started to, follow my intuition. You know what? I worked 5 months doing photography on that styling, feeling, without knowing that it's going to happen, what is happening when I went to the lab and I have it. I was just exposing the highlights, of course. In those times, my photometer, my way to read, the light was approaching the camera to the face, photography was much more difficult at these days. That's why when my students start to complain, like, guys, be thankful. This is 100 times easier right now to do good photography than before.
It's easier to take photos, but I think it's more difficult to to make a living from it, to work as a photographer, right? So there's just constant.
It is much more difficult to do a living, 100%. And also it's much more easy to lose the sense of observing because we are like,
yeah.
And before I have 36 shots. 36 shots means $16. And for me, $16 means almost 1 week of living.
When if you shoot medium format on 120, that's 10 or 12 shots at probably $20, $25, right? So it's, you're much more careful with what you're taking a photo of.
So there is good things and bad things, right?
Tell me about some of your experiences, and I know a lot of your work revolves around rituals, around spirituality, as well as just kind of the overarching indigenous topics. What role do these rituals and traditions play in your photography? And give me an example of maybe a ritual or tradition that you've learned from these indigenous populations that you might have implemented for yourself, right? In your
my first body of work of 10 years with indigenous people, Guardian of the Time. It's a work very much based on portraits, and I decide on those 10 years to don't shoot rituals. The rituals and ceremonies, I start to do it when I change to the Afro-descendants topic because it's another story. And then, of course, when I come to Asia and I feel that I can document that. But in my first 10 years, I never take pictures of rituals because I felt that was very, very private thing. And I want to respect that because I was also very green, but I was learning on that, right? So for me, already the experience and making portrait was enough. But the magic world of the rituals, it's another level, it's another level. I saw things like, you will not believe it, the way these people can predict things. For example, from all my trip on Latin America, my most warm relation, my strong relation was with the right word is Huirrárica, that are the Huicholes, the people who use the peyote. You know peyote?
I don't understand anything you just said.
Yeah, and that's right. Okay. Mexico have 52 different language.
Okay.
Indigenous language, 52. And one of the strong tribal indigenous people that Mexico have is called, the tribe name is Huichol. But the right way to call them is Huirrárica. Like, the Mentawai. Okay, this one are Huirrárica. Those people use peyote. Peyote is a cactus.
Okay.
That been used for thousands of years And when they do the ritual of taking that cactus, they have visions. It's like mushroom, like a magic mushroom, ayahuasca. Okay, peyote. It's a very strong medicine that they do since they are babies. 2, 3, 4 years they taking that, right? And these people live in another world, man. These people, when you wake up, it's not hello, good morning. It's how do you dream? Because for them, the dreams is a stronger connection of our, how I can say, unconscious magic world. These people can heal through the dreams. These people, I saw people like with a feather. They put the feather in and they suck it, and they suck it, whatever is there, they transform it, that in a material thing, they split it, and you can see like stones.
What?
And I saw that. I tell you one story. One day I am in the peyote ceremony. So I am pretty intense ceremony. You're not like on drugs. You are high conscious. You are awareness. You are like sensitive. So I was in the ritual for 5 days. People dance, that don't sleep. The shamans sing all day. They do this incredible dance. It's a long story ceremony. And then one guy comes and say, hey, there is a guy in the community that a scorpion bite on the neck, and he's out of control and I'm like, in the ceremony. So when I go there to try to help him, he was very scary. So he started to be a little bit violent, right? So I was like, I would like to help you, but I don't bring Western medicine. So why we don't go with the shamans? So I go with my strong connection shaman, an elder, and say, can you come please? Because someone is being bit by the scorpion. Yeah. So of course, his energy is so strong that this guy stopped to be violent, and he was like this, shaking. He had like even, like clicking in the mouth. And he came. I was with him because you need to understand, I did some shamanic work with them, right? So he put feathers here. He started to pray. And then he put the mouth where the scorpion, bite him.
Stung with the tail. Yeah.
He make this, and then he split, and small scorpion. I saw it.
No.
Promise. I was...
A baby scorpion came out of his mouth after he sucked the guy's...
Yes. I saw that. I was not high. I was super awake, because peyote don't put you like ayahuasca, that they really give you to another world that you abstract, DMT abstract. No, peyote is different, right? So I saw that. And half an hour later, the guy was like, nothing happened. He just got the spirit from him, right? And I saw many, many, many things, like with the shamans, like with the mushrooms. They don't take mushroom for have fun, no. They do because every illness comes from the spiritual level. You have that in Bali as well. If you get sick, it's because your emotion. That's why stress is the worst poison for our body and for our mind. Stress is number one, right? So that's why these people, and I understand doctors, I respect science, but they don't see that. Everything comes first from emotions, from spirits, from inside. That's why it's so important, mental health, because that can prevent cancer and so many, many, many other things, right? So I get engaged on that. I did my work. I did 5 years of
celibacy. Yeah.
I did it 5 years because that's how they became, I don't say I became that, but I want to understand that. So I follow that. No salt, and no sex, 5 years. To start to understand that. Yeah. And there is some shamans I met, they've been 20 years celibate. They're the most stronger shamans. because sex energy is the strongest energy we can have because we create life. So if we create life, we can do also many, many, many things with that energy. And I saw that in different shamanic places around the world that they don't have connection between, but they do the same thing, right? So I didn't like to take picture about that because that was my personal, journey, But then I start to get more people start to invite me more to document that kind of things, right? But I still think it is better to keep your camera because then you can perceive deeper things if you're not taking care about the camera exposition. It's much more important things to see than a picture of that.
Yeah. Fascinating.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, one time with this same tribe, I was walking in the mountains with a friend. My friend almost died because got dark in Mexico. Got dark. We were climbing a holy place that this tribe go far away from where they live, but they walk 15 days to go to this holy place where they call the burning place, the quemado, the burning, because it's where the sun grow up for the first time. So when the sun comes for the first time, burn, that heals. That's why they call it like this. It's the Mecca of them, right? So my friend in the night almost died because he get lost. And 3 a.m, I put a tent because I arrived in the afternoon, super high after walking all day. He almost died. Anyway, a year later, I never went to this community. I never talk about that to them. I go and one guy come to me and said, "Wow, you are the one that your friend almost died in." And he described me exactly what happened. I was like, "How do you know that?" I dream it. I dream about that. And that's so many, many stories I have that people are like, "What? You're making..." No. I believe in everything. That's why I told you how I heal myself. Because I knew there is always a stronger thing around us that can be, so powerful,
But you had to become something worse than that in order to grow again, right? To breathe life into that. So it's not all great. It's not all belief wins above all, right? It's understanding, being aware, and being able to take from these experiences that might work for you. Everyone's different. Some things might stick, some things might work for one person and it might not work for another, right? What do you hope that people take away from your work, from your photographs? We talked about a lot of great stories today and
hope, yes. When I give a conference and they invite me in a university for, say, some example, and I have a crowd full of new generation, what is happening, because everything is happening right now with the weather, with the, how you call
climate
it?
Change.
Thank you so much for that. I heard that 30 years ago from indigenous people. And of course, they don't hear them because they don't hear the science people who were saying also the same thing, right? So all that already they know it, they saw it, they feel it, right? So of course, new generation can be very, anxiety of what is going to happen. So when I give a presentation and I show 30 different tribes and some of my stories, my bigger wish is to bring them hope. Because you know what? The earth is okay, man. The earth is going to survive. It's about us.
Survive long after us.
Yes, the earth is okay. You see Kuta, you see all these places, nothing to the earth. It will recover like someone is sick from the liver and the liver recover. The earth recover faster than that. And everything will be back how it was before. It's about, yes, it's a mystery. How is it going to be the next generation? How is it going to be the world in the future? But, I mean, yes, we are in a fragile moment. How we're going to survive? I understand how scary it can be for a new generation. But I don't know. I have hope, man. I have hope because these people give me hope, These people give me this hope, And I still many sad things, wars are still going on, But, what I was thinking lately these days, to say to the people, and I say that here, we think the world is full of assholes. Yes, politicals, right? Because we read that. But my experience, traveling around 50 countries around the world is, I will say, 97% or 98 or 99% of beautiful people, man. Because people is beautiful. Anywhere you go, Iran, India, South America, Asia, Central Asia, you go to the farm, people is beautiful. So yes, there's much more beautiful people in this planet than assholes, that for sure. Way more. And that's how you call it? Good energy. So the world is more surrounded of good energy than bad energy,
Speaking of words, where does Suki come from?
My nana who grew me up, because when I was a baby, she called me my nana. Guaguita sumita in Quechua language from the north of Argentina means cute baby. And the shortcut of Guaguita sumita is Suki. So my nana that raised me up when my father was working called me Suki all my life. But guess what? One day I discovered that Suki in Japanese is I like you. And also I discovered that in Indian Hindu is happy. So it's a nice name.
It's perfect.
I like you happy,
Yeah, like you happy.
I like you happy. So yeah. So most of my friends know me as Suki.
Well, you're definitely one of the 99% of the beautiful people in this world. Thank you so much for having such a beautiful conversation. It's been such a privilege to have you, and thank you for sharing what you've shared. I wish you the best of luck with your renewed vigoration and your renewed photography journey. And I'll certainly be watching from afar. Where can people see you? Where can people find you? How can we observe what you're doing next?
Well, I have a website that I will call that's my portfolio. That used to be before my portfolio, my website, Suki, photo as in English, SUKI, photo in PO.
We'll link it. We'll link it in the description.
Yeah. That's my website. Then Instagram, it's different. Maybe we can put it in the video. My Instagram, and then I promote in my workshop. My workshops basically are in remote areas, and we are trying to avoid tourist areas. We try to go to local people, local tradition, local, festivities, understanding that it's a mix of photography with culture and having a beautiful experience. And people became very, very happy with the workshop because I think we take away all this pressure of like doing photography as a competition and putting the ego. And another thing I would like to say, and I respect all kind of work, that when I run workshop, I let the people do what they need. They need to work in my workshop. I don't like to make one scene and everybody take the same picture, because it's nice for the ego, it's nice for your likes in Instagram, but you don't grow up. I think so, with all my respect on that. So I prefer, like, I teach them, I give in all my knowledge I can share with them, but then, yes, we work together, but everybody needs to create, their own story at some point, sometimes I can help them to contact the people, but I try to don't influence on how to take the picture, otherwise I think I limit them the way to learn, right? So that's another one. And then the rest, please, new generation, keep working. Thank you so much to all the group, to all the teams. And I was also waiting for, you did a great work. Thank you. You have been growing up a lot as a photographer. Congratulations for that. And you've been doing this beautiful work, bringing also, raising the voices. And this is a little bit in a different way, what you're doing. That's what we do. When you ask me why I do that, to bring hope, to preserve, but basically also, and I forgot to mention that, to put a platform for them to put their voices, their message, because it's not about my photography, it's about them.
Yeah. What a beautiful way to end the conversation. Thank you so much, Sebastian. Thank you so much, Suki. Until next time, hopefully I can join one of your workshops one day.
You're welcome. I'm going to be around.
But until then, take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, so that's pointing down too much. Let me check. Quick audio test. So you just say testing 1, 2, 3.
Hola, aquí desde México. Feliz de la vida. Hablando español, but I will speak English, don't worry. Aquí estamos, here we are. Bali,
Nice.
Bagus.
Good. Testing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Great. Wrap. Hey! Oh, air conditioning.
I hope you like it.
Yeah, we loved it. Thank
Cheers,
you.
cheers.
Cheers. How did you find it?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And also, I think it's part to be sober, you know, like you can, I mean, I think, I will tell you this without ego, but people, when they see me now in Bali, they see me that I look 5 years younger than before.
Yeah, well, I didn't meet you in person before, but I would probably agree with that.
The other day,
Yeah.
2 days ago, this guy, Yusuf, you need to meet that guy again. He's a crazy guy that traveled Indonesia on the 90s, in the end of the 80s, and with the Mentawai in the end of the 80s. Amazing guy. He was like, Suki, of course, you don't do Botox. But what the hell? You are younger. I say, because I used to go to sleep at 2, 3 in the morning, and now I sleep at 9, 10. Yeah. I don't eat more sugar. I don't eat more I avoid, sugar. Of course, the food I eating is very healthy.
Do you eat meat?